Now, barely 2 years into what should be a 4-year job interview, the APC has already sent in their re-election RSVP for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Yes, the same president, still unboxing the promises from his inauguration speech, has been anointed, endorsed, and packaged for a second term by 22 governors and the National Assembly, and of course, by the ruling party itself at a self-love summit better known as the APC National Convention. Because why not? Performance review? Who needs that? Deliveries or deliverables? How very pedestrian. In Nigeria, it seems political promotions it's now standard, with just a pulse, and party loyalty is just business as usual. And in case you missed it, the president's men, or the king's men, assured us. They said, we're not a one-party state, but one party is making a difference. That's a direct quote from the presidency. And I say, how adorable. What they forgot to mention is, yes, they are making a difference. A difference between hunger and starvation. Between there is light, but can you afford it? And we have increased your minimum wage, but good luck trying to buy a bag of rice with that. Between democracy and, well, whatever this performance act is. But as always, there's always more. And a move only the most daring satirical playwrights could whip up. Just imagine this for a second. The National Assembly has proposed a bill that makes voting mandatory. Yes, our lawmakers, in their infinite wisdom, decided that if Nigerians don't love the choices on the ballot, they should be forced to love them with the help of the criminal justice system. Of course, imagine being hauled to court because you refuse to endorse a mediocre menu. God forbid you want choices. Just God forbid you want choices. Your Honor, I just didn't want Amala or Eba this election cycle. Just God forbid anyone wants more. Now, you might ask, why are people not voting in the first place? The answer is simple. Because they are tired of queuing for hours in the sun only to be rewarded with recycled manifestos, ballot box snatching, election violence, ethnic profiling, beavers failing, and results that require a PhD in creative fiction to interpret. Look, if you start with me, I have a laundry list of the reasons why Nigerians refuse to go to the ballot to vote. But instead of fixing that, instead of addressing voter suppression, insecurity, INEC inefficiencies, voter education lapses, or the rising cost of just existing, our lawmakers decided that the solution is handcuffs for anyone who doesn't show up at the polls. Nigeria, where the leadership doesn't read the room, they just arrest the audience. So let me break it down for you one time. We now have a president endorsed for another term, not by the people, but by the echo chamber of political patronage. We have a ruling party so drunk on its own zobo, remember, it's a morning show, it thinks democracy is just a courtesy notification. And we have a National Assembly that is not only out of touch, but appears to be in a tug of war with basic logic. Instead of exploring why citizens don't trust the process, they want to mandate participation in a system the people believe is broken. Hello, trust deficit. That's like forcing someone to attend a wedding where their ex is a groom and the menu is Ghanaian jollof. So what's next, you ask? Compulsory clapping during campaign rallies? I think that already is happening. Anyway, moving on. It's important to state this here and now. Democracy dies not just with a gunshot in the night, but with bad laws in broad daylight, passed by lawmakers who should be asking questions. not enforcing compliance. I beg you. So, as 2027 looms like a badly written sequel, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, I'm looking at you. Remember this, the real threat is our democracy. That's it. The real threat to our democracy isn't just voter apathy, it's elite arrogance, legislative laziness, and the tragic comedy of a system that now confuses dictatorship with discipline. But hey, cheer up. At least we're not a one-party state. We're just a state where one party thinks it's the sun, the moon, and the entire constellation. Anyway, good morning to you and welcome. We intend to give you the entire constellation. Aren't we the moon, the sun, and the star, Mazino?
Well, are we APC? The thing is, yeah, I love that, yeah. Especially the part where you went about Ghanaian jollof and the groom is your ex.
Hi.
You know what we should be looking at now? We should stop this comparison with Nigeria and Ghana jollof and start comparing our democracies.
Hi!
So which one is better? I think we'll get a clear winner there if we're very honest about it.
I mean, you know, there's no mago-mago. We can see it in broad daylight.
Exactly.
Hallelujah.
Exactly. It's not about the tomatoes or the whatever ingredients you've got in there. It's just there in front.
It's just there. There's no okra in this jollof rice.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry. But I get you.
Join us. Let's give you the moon, the morning. We may not have all of the constellations, but we do have all the headlines and all the biggest stories that's making rounds this weekend. So join us on to Breakfast Extra. He's Mazino Appeal and Judith at TV. It's time for us to get started. Come on.
Well, good morning. Now, welcome to your weekend breakfast show for a Sunday edition here, Breakfast Extra, where Africa's heartbeat meets global headlines, and your Sunday mornings are packed with insights, conversation, and of course, connection. Hey, that's what we do here. Here's what's coming up on the show today. We begin in the heart of the Federal Capital Territory, where calls are growing louder to end a horrifying traditional practice. One big report here. We spotlight the ongoing fight against infanticide in 27 FCT communities and the push for legislation to protect vulnerable children. Then on Big Story, the debate gets heated as the National Assembly considers a mandatory voting bill. We've been talking about this one since yesterday. But lawyers, civic groups, and the Nigerian Bar Association are raising the red flag. We unpack the legal, ethical, and also democratic implications with key voices on both sides. And from Borno State, it's a story of resilience and revival. On our Big Story, or rather Big Report, we head to Marte, where life is returning after years of displacement due to insurgency. Our correspondent brings us first-hand insight into the community's road to recovery. Meanwhile, politics is already heating up ahead of 2027, as you heard in our monologue there. On One Big Story, we delve into the APC's National Summit and the endorsement of President Bola Tinubu for a second term, naturally. What does this mean for Nigeria's political future? Well, our guests will weigh in. And on our extra special for today, we take you to Washington, D.C., ahead of the Africa Ambassadors Economic Forum. We speak with Dr. Omai Kofi, global strategist, Harvard alumni, and also economic visionary, on unlocking generational wealth and Africa's place in the global investment shift. And finally, on Focus Africa, we examine the Trump-Ramaphosa meeting that stirred old ghosts and new questions with past claims of white genocide still in memory. What does this latest diplomatic interaction really mean for the U.S. and also South Africa relations and Africa in the end of the day? So if you will, settle in and join us this morning as we try to take, or rather make sense of the stories that we're bringing your way. Ramaphosa Trump.
My favorite topic.
Let me tell you something before we go into the dailies, which we'll be bringing to you in just a bit.
Yeah.
So if you remember now, Trump had plenty of sheets of papers with claims about white genocide, burial grounds, and everything. So in a recent report, very credible report, it showed that the individuals who took these pictures or the videos that Trump claimed were acts of genocide against white farmers in South Africa actually were from the Congo. I kid you not. The photographers and videographers who made these videos have actually come out to say, oh, no, sorry, that was me from a couple of years back, and that was in the Congo. One of them was a Red Cross activity actually burying, I think it was after an instance in the Congo, the DR Congo.
You will think that the United States of America's president, with all of the FBI and CIA
and intelligence and
the intelligence and the technology at his arsenal, still can be
flawed.
You know, flawed or just invest in so much misinformation to push his propaganda and agenda. I love it for America.
Talk about false news.
Ooh,
and the person who actually terms the term itself.
It's false.
False
It's
news.
all false.
So it's a very
great guy.
interesting. But I will say this. I will say that I actually do. I like the guy in a very funny sort of way. He's like that grandpa who at the end of the day still gets it right.
No, it doesn't.
He actually does.
No, he's the insufferable grandpa that everyone just suck up to, and like it's like for peace to reign. Like he knows he's going to get his way anyway, right? Yeah. So he becomes insufferable, and you don't have a choice and be like, all right, yeah, of course, yeah, just let the guy have his way and let him go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, everybody lets him have his way.
And I think
we get things done.
No, get things done what he wants to get done. I don't necessarily think get things done in all fairness when it comes to world. But I mean, look at what he's doing with the taxes. That means more middle income and low income households will still have to pay more than they normally would for taxes. He's done a lot of cuts that's, it's, the signs are there and nobody's seeing it. I mean, there are some, look at what he's doing with Harvard University. Yeah. Okay, he's going after, free speech. He's going after, there's so much he's doing. And the question is, when is it going to be enough for, not the international community, but America itself to get up and say, this is not our value, this is not who we are, this is steering far away from what is supposed to be the norm, and this is not acceptable, and no means no, and we must stop. I wonder when that will happen.
Judith, let's concern ourselves with Nigeria.
Yes, so my favorite. The most pleasurable topic of all time for me.
Yes, indeed.
Nigeria.
Let's talk about Nigeria. Let's do that from the front pages of the newspapers this morning as we bring you the dailies. Let's see now. We're going to be starting from the Independent, the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. So if you join us front and center there, you can see this headline. Nigerians raise furor over padding of 2025 budget. We spoke about this yesterday. If you missed it, you can catch that on our YouTube channel. Says it's blatant assault on fiscal responsibility, laments persistence of corruption in the system. At the end of the discussion yesterday, I did say perhaps maybe less focus on development of individuals or people in society, because this is where you can actually pad all of these.
Right.
And more focus on amenities. And I mean proper amenities, not the ones that last for only just a few. Still inside of the Sunday Independent, we've got Borno on edge as insurgents close in. Boko Haram launches more attacks despite military efforts. Governor Zulum unsettled. Humanitarian crisis intensified. We had him on Breakfast Central only just the past week. You still catch that on YouTube as from before. Pro-Tinubu endorsements lack popular appeal. Analysts want opposition elements to fine-tune coalition moves. 22 states, did you say, inside of your monologue, have endorsed. But many more questions that need to be asked regarding this. But it's only natural that the APC governors would endorse, and only natural that halfway into his tenure...
Is it halfway?
It is.
It's not halfway.
It is.
It's barely
halfway. Rope, goat, rope. As in local parlance, everything holds the goat down.
Man, anyway, let's moving on, shall we? Move on to our next papers. We pull it up right there on your screen. And that will be the Sunday Punch for you. This will be the second there. The the very first one, the one that really jumps at you, the 2027 ADC leaders split over takeover of anti-Tinubu coalition. You can find that story on pages 3 and 7 of the Sunday Punch. We won't allow newcomers displace us, says Chairman Atiku Obi, ready to back neutral candidates to unseat Tinubu ADC national chair. At the top there, PDP crisis, Southeast caucus gives Saraki panel truce conditions. You can find that story on page 19. National Secretary Convention top neck agenda on Tuesday. Yeah, they're getting ready for their neck. That's the PDP, which will be happening this Tuesday. Now, right next to it, a mass burial in Taraba as herders slaughter scores. You can find that story on page 6. But just by the side there, I may not contest again after 2027, says Obi. You can find that story on page 4. Well, it is what it is. He needs to retire and rest.
I don't take sides, but I'm just saying this would be the general reaction from
Nigerians, from his supporters.
Exactly.
Yeah. At the bottom there, public safety suffers as Army police emergency apps collapse. They do have apps. You can find that story on page 4. Most Nigerian pastors are extremely poor, Bishop Igele. You can find that story on page 27. At the bottom, they're exposed how teenage boys are lured into selling nudes for cash. Interesting. You can find that story on pages 22 and 23. How I survived Kwara boat crash that killed 37 passengers. And that's from a trailer. There was also a passenger on the ill-fated boat. You can find the story on page 9. And really at the end there, auxiliary nurses run private hospitals as owners shun professionals. Find that story on pages 16 and 17 of the Punch newspaper. Pretty much all of that we can take for the Punch this morning.
Sunday Times is next. NNPCL shut down a PH refinery due to incompetence. Petron alleges, didn't they just only begin just only a couple of months ago? Bola Tinubu made history and eroding rule of law at the top there. And insecurity, army arrests 3 foreign Fulanese, 2 Chadians in Plateau State. I'd like to follow up on that story and see exactly why they were arrested. So check that out on the Sunday Times. And APC endorsement of Tinubu theatrical. Ferrick says PRP chairman and federal apparatus Ndume recants, says Tinubu fair to the north. More headlines here for the Sunday Times. Sultan Abubakar endorses Tinubu's religious intolerance promotion for Nigerians, and Oshu communal crisis. Adeleke relaxes curfew, warns warring monarchs, and security operators arrest 20 suspects for hacking 2025 UTME server. All these hackings and everything regarding surrounding our education. We've got a very interesting lineup for the strips today, which will be inside of our 3rd hour, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that if you are interested in hearing plenty about the Nigerian education system, you should be listening out or watching out for that one as we bring it to you inside the 3rd hour. There's so much to talk about the JAM instance and the youth in Nigeria. So let's look out for that one. Also, something very interesting that I hope one of the headlines will reflect this. But go ahead, what do you have there?
Yeah. So after the Sunday Times, coming up right after that will be, as we pull it up for you on the screen there, as in Nation. Let's pull up the Nation for you. The very first big one there. Coalition Atiku draws battle line with PDP governors. Others, Sean's Osun governor, party chiefs during visit. Aregbesol's Adeleke's alliance heads for the rocks. Fresh confusion over proposed PDP NEC meeting. Atiku, Obi, El Rufai, Amechi, others meet today. Obi will run on Labour Party's platform in 2027. Oh, that's Obi saying, I will run on Labour Party's platform in 2027. You can find that story there just at the front page there for the Nation for a Sunday. At the top there, panic lobbying over FCTA's threat to seize properties in Abuja. That story is on page 2, as people are lobbying for the Federal Capital Territories Administration threat to seize properties in Abuja. Right next to it is Sultan Lords Tinubu for promoting religious tolerance. Says Nigeria, only country where Muslims, Christians, interacts peacefully. You can find that story on page 5. At the bottom there, NNPCL shuts down Port Harcourt refinery for maintenance. You can find that story on page 7. Ondo 2027 election tribunal fixes June 4th for judgment. You can find that story on page 17. And at the bottom, Fani Kayode condemns Trump's attack on Ramaphosa MP. That story is on page 10. And then just there, that picture that you see there is a picture of the wreckage of the Aviation Training School's Diamond Training aircraft, which crash-landed at Ilorin International Airport on Friday. And you can find that story on page 6. I do hope no lives were lost in that crash, in that wreckage there. Pretty much all the story you can take for the nation.
Yes, we've got the Vanguard newspaper up next. For the Vanguard newspaper, always a very interesting front page for the Vanguard. On a Sunday morning, thank you, Vanguard. All eyes on
Who's
Atiku.
that? Oh.
Well, we'll get to that. But for now, Judith,
Focus.
all eyes on. How very convenient. All eyes on Atiku, Obi, and El Rufai as coalition gathers momentum. I will run on Labour Party platform, says Obi, that on page 4. And then under Tinubu, the Southeast has only one minister and 3 assistant ministers. IPOB, Ijuku's deputies, a prediction about Biafra coming to pass. At the top, insecurity situation critical, declares state of emergency now. Ndume tells Tinubu, repentant terrorists cannot be trusted. Methodist prelate Abba. Under that, you'd find Nigeria won't slip into one-party state. Senate minority leader. It's a very small headline. I don't know if this is representative of the voices out there regarding the situation, because it was a very loud declaration from over the week. It was bold. It was on all the headlines, boldly written. But when it comes to any sort of opposition, what you get, and I'm wondering why this is so, is very small rubrics.
You know,
oh, look, Nigeria.
At one point, it's silence. Yeah, there is whispers. You know, whimpering.
I might have missed that if I wasn't critical. You know. To one side here at the bottom, midterm report, how has Tinubu fared? A peep into the economic, education, interior agenda. There are other sectors to be looked at, and maybe less focus on 2027, which isn't in itself even a sector at all. Seems rather self-preservative, as many have claimed. Trump, Malema, Ramaphosa, and the Oval Office grill by Fani Kayode. You told from another daily how he condemned the
Trump's attack on,
and to the very beautiful picture here doing David on dating a virgin. Well, congratulations to you, and very beautiful well, semblance of you there. Nice. That's all for the Sunday Vanguard.
Moving on. I can't just get past the thought of, anyway. Very nicely. It's a Sunday morning, shall we? A lot of people are, you know. Anyway, we're moving on to this day newspaper. Quite the headlines there. The very first one, 2027. Obi shrugs of coalition, says he will contest on Labour Party's platform. Blames APC-led government for crisis in PDP Labour Party. Narrates how Yar'Adua, Maurice Iwu, oh goodness, those names, forced APGA to resolve internal crisis. You can find that story on page 5. At the top there, Adeni, Tinubu's reforms push customs revenue to 1.3 trillion naira in Q1 of 2025. And at the very top, foreign domestic investors drive Nigerian stock market transactions to record 2.7 trillion naira in 4 months. And at the bottom, just under that banner there, you see NNPC shuts down Port Harcourt refinery for plant maintenance. That story is on page 8. Now, we do hope that shutdown will not be for long, and there will be a proper timeline that will be followed to ensure a quick reopen of the...
But then we've got Dangote with a D on his chest to save Nigeria.
I know, that's right.
I'm not sure if he is capable of carrying the entire weight on his chest.
I know,
but
he's, I mean, so it's still, he has to still pay his investors, you know, and all of that. So you got to do business. The most important thing is that the NNPCL and the federal government, you know, cooperates when it comes to buying the crude oil for refining and selling.
What else do we have?
Yeah, we're done with this day newspaper. That's for certain.
Yeah, and I would imagine that that would be all the dailies. Or do we have? We have the Liberty, Voice of Liberty. I beg your pardon, my apologies. I thought we were done. 2027, Atiku Saraki Obi, El Rufai Amechi lead unified front against Tinubu. We found other iterations on other papers. NNPCL shut down Port Harcourt refinery, and ASU demands action, threatens nationwide strike. Interesting. At the top, or rather bottom, Kaduna launches youth skills program, and Emefiele FG to sell 753 houses to low-middle-income Nigerians. 2027 presidency, I'll run an LP platform, says Peter Obi. And House of Reps move to revive abandoned Baro Inland Port. So much talk about the Emefiele 753 houses and how they are being sold, or their arrangements to make them available to low-income Nigerians. But have you seen these structures, even if they are in a state of development? If you've seen the structures, I'm not exactly sure how they are going to be, or maybe they might be repurposed for low-income earners, because they are quite elaborate buildings.
Yeah, they
also,
are.
Most 753 of them. And exactly who are these poor-income Nigerians? Would they be poor senators? In terms of, oh, poor senator.
Let's see. Yeah, let's see. But Emefiele, Kai, I don't know what to say. Like this, anyway, let me not say anything. Pretty much all of, finally, we'll take, our last paper for today will be The Weekend. Not the musician, The Weekend, but the paper, The Weekend. Right there, this one is actually from Kenya. At the top there, it says Marte's Choral Festival, all set for showdown on May 31st. Those are celebrations there for page 26 and 30. How Ugandan was traced over death of Kenyan doctor. That story is on pages 6 and 7 of the Weekend Vision. Army speaks out on rebel activities. German envoy. That story is on page 3. Tracing dog supply chain among youth. That story is on page 4 and 5. NRM winners losers. You can find that the details of that on page 2 and 3 for the Weekend, all the way from Kenya. Court files how soiled shoes gave away MP Gordy. That story is on page 33. How criminal gangs are built in prison. You can find that story on page 32. And opportunities, Sinopec, you pick to skill 400 youths in oil and gas. That story is on page 37. Skilling, empowering 400 youths in oil and gas. Meanwhile, there's a country I know where they're teaching them how to tie gilly and makeup in NYC camp. But what do I know?
Hey, there's demand. There is demand.
Well,
there is
a point.
I think that's all the papers for this morning. Here for the dailies, I had a conversation with Matthew, our producer, this morning. Matthew does not want to be seen on television, so unfortunately it will be a cold day in hell when we do get to see him on our screens here. But we had this conversation regarding the educational system in Nigeria, and how vocation seems to be downplayed.
Yeah.
And I said to him, if my daughter showed interest in other interests, like perhaps maybe sports or tying gilly, for instance, which is why I'm talking about this, I think I will push, I will help, I would support, I would make her do it, because education is not all of it.
Right.
You've got situations where you have botanists as broadcasters. I don't think that it was that academic endeavor that actually got them to where they were going. It was something else, maybe a talent, for instance. So if you focus on all of these, you wouldn't have the situation we have where all that brouhaha going on with all the jam and WAEC instance that we're having now seems to be top story and top news.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my own argument is that you don't wait until the person is out of undergraduate school and they're on the cusp of getting into the job market that you're now teaching them how to tie gilly. And I think that starts from your formative years, from SS1 or GSS3, when you're starting to branch out into sciences, arts.
I'd actually make it start earlier.
So start early and chart them on that course, right? And vocational skills and all those other fields, they are important, but they also need to be glamorized as well.
Yeah,
and I think that's why I've always said this, and I'll say it again, that the government needs to play, especially the National Orientation Agency, at the Ministry of Education, and also to reorientate and unlearn and, re-engineer our minds and our social conditioning to understand that those jobs are meaningful, they're important, and they can be glamorized, and they are necessary for our society.
Our
So
generation
plumbing,
will make that
tiling,
change.
you know,
We will
building,
see the same like our parents did from before.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think like I've said, I'd let my kid do anything different from academics. I think you would do the same. So it's going to be different.
Yeah.
The problem is the next generation.
Yeah, but
change
and
it.
also the problem is also there's also the lower middle class where they think that the jobs that they do is not glamorous, and they would rather have their children be on here, right? You know, this lights would not be on if there was not a technician who could fix it. The screen behind us would not be working if this. So people need to understand that it's a collective. Those engines are proper for you to see the entire car itself. So yeah,
it's an engine.
Yeah, it's an
beautiful,
engine.
nice.
It's very important.
Let's take a break. Let's start with our conversations this morning. Do stay with us. We'll be back with some of those. Welcome once again. Now, in a democracy, voting is both a right and a civic responsibility, but should it be made compulsory? And that's the question stirring debate across Nigeria following the advancement of a bill in the House of Representatives that seeks to make voting mandatory for all eligible citizens. The proposed amendments to the Electoral Act has passed second reading in the Green Chamber, but it's also faced stiff resistance from key stakeholders, including the Nigerian Bar Association, senior lawyers, civil society groups, and also constitutional experts. Critics argue that compulsory voting undermines constitutional freedoms, violates the rights to dissent, and reflects a worrying misunderstanding of the root causes of voter apathy. Supporters say it's a bold move towards civic responsibility and better political accountability.
So the question is, where should the line be drawn between duty and freedom? We'll explore both sides of this controversial bill in today's big story. So joining us now is Uchenna Akingbade. She's a legal practitioner and a partner at Synosis DLP, and she'll join us in subsequent time. But also joining us from the lawmaker's perspective is Honorable Victor Obuzuo. He's a member of the House of Representatives representing Ahoada West, Ogba Ebema, Ndoni Federal Constituency. Honorable Victor, many thanks again for joining us, and we appreciate you for doing this with us a second time this Sunday morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Also a reminder that Uchenna will join us subsequently. But so let me get started. Now, earlier yesterday when we were having this conversation, we wanted to get a full picture of why the lawmakers decided to not only just put in this bill, but it passing through to a second reading and getting almost a full support for this compulsory voting bill.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to be on your screen and speak a little to the issue. The bill, which is number HB 1930, being sponsored by the Speaker of the House, for mandatory to amend the Electoral Act and to make it mandatory for all Nigerians of a majority age to vote. I want to start from the perspective of the legislature as in what is our duty? Our duty is to make laws. Our duty is to oversight the higher oversight functions of the executives, as well as represent our people, good representation. And in terms of making laws, we are talking about democracy. So every law we make is a law that should aid democracy for the betterment of the people. From this perspective, you can see that the sponsor of the bill, who is our Speaker, the Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, and the House being worried about the percentage of participation of citizens in voting, where we are talking about legitimizing elected positions, the officers that are elected. A situation where in 2023 we had just about 28% of registered voters, participating. You can see that if one stood up and said it's legitimate, based on the number of, we have over 90 something million people registered, and you have only 28% of that participating in the voting. So how legitimate is that election? These questions try to make the people look at the credibilities, censor the credibility of the elections. And being worried, the thoughts come in. How do we get the people to vote?
Honorable Obuzo, I think you might have muted your device unknowingly, so we stopped hearing you at the end there. Could you please check your device?
Fundamental rights and everything. We have the opponents to this view in terms of looking at where we are in Nigeria. This, I believe, is the reason why we are even discussing this morning. Because you look at the reasons why people will not vote, where we look at the unfulfilled promises, insecurity, especially, and if you are bringing a bill to make the people, to mandate them to go and vote, they're looking at you as being insensitive. Because, those in the western, northwestern and northeastern region being troubled by terrorism, you want them, those who are registered there, you want them to go there and vote. So we now look at information and communication with the people. There are a lot of things that are not known to people. There are a lot of solutions to these issues, even if it was mandated. People could transfer. But the point remains, are we ready at this point to mandate people to go and vote?
Honorable Obuzo, you do make very important points there with the submission that you have just given. One can see that the legislature is actually concerned about the credibility of the elections and how it is skewed when one side actually chooses not to vote because perhaps maybe apathy or despondency. But then we also have to ask where research comes in these laws that are being suggested here. Was there any research into exactly why there is such disengagement when it comes to voting from Nigerians? Perhaps maybe it might seem that it is a symptom of something else. Now, making punitive measures for a symptom isn't exactly attacking the problem at its core. So how much research was put in? Why are people not voting or coming out to vote? And is this one of many symptoms? Because if you have to have punitive measures for not voting, then you have to punish people for other things as well that are maybe symptoms from a bigger problem. Do you agree with me there?
I agree totally with you. The legislature, we are all fitted with aids. And like the honorary speaker he has good hands around him. I myself, when I got a hold of the journal that had the bill, because normally when the bill is gazetted, the journal comes around, I tried to research a little. I looked into some history. When you look at the countries like Australia, Rome, in the 6th century, where you would have some kind of reproach if you do not participate in voting, and then you look at Australia, their votes never came up to 95% participation until mandatory voting was introduced. But that is not to say that in terms of enforcement, there are a lot of issues that come with it. The House has done its duty to bring it to the fore. Now, recall that the bill is not yet passed. It has to go through third reading, where there will be a lot of discussions and debates with the civil society, with the public, where if it has to be thrown away, it will be thrown away for now, maybe due to the non-readiness of the structure, the nation's structure to handle this. We're looking at enforcement, we're looking at coverage, we're looking at people being able to vote electronically, we're looking at postal voting and all that. These are ways that you can use to mitigate the stress. You can check in ancient Rome, it was the voting was done at one point where people have to travel down there.
Honorable Abuzo,
But today-
I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I wanted to point out something. These other samples that you're mentioning might have more ideal circumstances around them. I bring to your notes the experience of plenty Nigerians in the last election. And we actually had some of these instances televised where people were disenfranchised, people were actually threatened not to vote. One has to ask what reform has come that way. Has anybody been punished for actually taking somebody's right away to vote first, before I am being mandated to vote?
Yeah, we have situations where people have been incarcerated for, issues of disenfranchisement during the elections, issues of violence and all that. We have those in record, but the fact still remains that security challenges we have in the country is a problem. It's a big problem. People don't go to vote because of those. People don't go to vote because you make your campaign and you make your promises. At the end of the day, a lot of people do not fulfill to the rigging of elections, like you're mentioning. So people don't feel, I go to the polling station, I do my voting, and at the end of the day, whatever is announced. So there is a lot of work to be done, also in the voting process, in terms of securing the votes, in terms of access to voting. Look at the rigors that go on during distribution of materials, for example. Some people start the elections in the evening. People cannot, by the evening time, a lot of people that were on the lines, they've left the lines. The lines are now vacant. So the structure needs work, for sure. So that does not throw away the fact that participation has to be encouraged, one way or the other.
Right.
So the legislature has done, the legislators, we've done our job to bring this to the further. Look, this is a problem in Nigeria, and we have to face it.
Right.
And by this bill, we are calling on everybody, the executives, the civil society, the MBA, everybody should come together and then let us make participation work. If we are to address it from the root of these issues, the structure should be put in place. The security has to move. Yeah, I'm listening.
Right, Honorable. The NBA has flouted this and condemned this bill, this mandatory voting bill. Simply, one of them is that it infringes on human rights of participation, human rights of association, and the freedom of fellowship. There are individuals who are, by their religion and by their faith, are forbidden to vote or participate in any civic responsibility. In fact, they're forbidden for blood transfusion when it comes to their health as well, right? And so it begs to ask the question about, where the lines are being blurred with this bill. If it goes and is signed into law, or as it scales into second reading and a third reading and it gets to the presidency's desk, where are the lines that are being blurred? Are the House not worried that it's infringing on the rights of Nigerians?
If I can recall, glancing through the Constitution, and then we're looking at things like right to human, the dignity of a person, and I think I saw a clause where you can't be forced. Your rights cannot be infringed upon. If you are a Christian and your religion says do not vote, nobody will force you nobody should force you do not vote anyway. I think civic duties, the Constitution said, but for civic duties. So during civic duty, you can compel, not by
but it criminalizes. The bill itself criminalizes. It criminalizes either you are held in jail or you have to pay a fine of 100,000 naira. Now, talking about money, right? The INEC itself has received a lump sum from 2022. During the conduction of the 2023 election, the federal government expenditure was projected to be 17.13 trillion naira. That's an aggregate from 2022. Now, if you compare that in 2025, INEC also proposed a budget of 126 billion. And while the Federal Ministry of Finance allocated about 40 billion naira to INEC, out of that money is voter education. Has the INEC fulfilled its duty and responsibility as it pertains voter education and registering more Nigerians and making the process as seamless and as hitch-free and fail-proof as possible for Nigerians as opposed to this bill? Have the House held INEC accountable when it comes to the arm of itself, which is voter education? Honorable.
Accountability is key. We assume that we are about 200 million people in Nigeria, but a census hasn't been done. I can't remember the last time a census was done. But on the register, we have about 95 million. If we have 200 million people in Nigeria and 95 million are registered, it means just a little below half of the people have been captured, you know, although we can take into consideration that not all of them are of the age 18 to vote, you know. So when you do those statistics, maybe we can find out that, okay, probably they are, you know, close to, but naturally they have not covered all grounds. And it's obvious due to the situation we find the country, the limitations, the constraints in different regions. I think it's not bulletproof to go into some certain regions to do certain work. We've had instances where agents were killed. People working with INEC were killed. Well, I can say that Nigeria should be seen as a work in progress. And it's not like built in bricks, you know. It's out there. The issue should be brought out there, which has been done. We're not saying it's a must. The bill must not go through. But at the end of the day, the issue must be made known. And then if you talk of in terms of voter education, you know, I believe a lot more has to be done. A lot more has to be done about that from my perspective.
All right, Honorable Obuzo, thank you very much. But we have to bring in now our other guest, and that is Uchenna Kingbade, legal practitioner. She was with us yesterday, if you remember, and we asked her questions regarding the rights of voters. Uchenna, you're welcome again. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, yesterday you spoke to us regarding the rights of people, but I want to ask what responsibility the legislature has when it comes to this bill here, criminalizing abstaining from voting. However, when it comes to criminalizing those who have taken the rights to vote away from people, it seems nothing or very little has been done. Honorable Obuzo actually says that it is on record that some have been arrested and they are facing punitive measures. But we haven't seen so much. We have notable people caught on camera who actually told people not to vote for specific parties, yet they still walk the streets of Nigeria free. Nothing's happened to them. So what responsibility for the legislature when it comes to these issues?
I believe you've already captured it. You've already said most of it. I think they should strengthen the punitive measures that are contained in the Electoral Act. And not just, is it more of an issue of the legislature or for it now to be enforced? Because the legislature makes the laws. And there are penalties for these actions that you have mentioned, already enshrined in the Electoral Act. Are they being enforced? Does the state have the willpower to actually enforce these crimes that we have all noticed? Some where you won't have actual evidence. I think the issue is more about enforcement rather than the law, because the law is there. There are penalties for these actions. It now falls on the state to execute these laws that have been provided.
Now, Uchenna, I'm really glad we have you here because we've seen very notable, lawyers and legal practitioners in the political space who have come out and voiced their disdain or displeasure, or just that they have said that this proposed mandatory voting bill should not take center stage. Do you think that this bill it will solve any problem? Do you think that more work needs to be done? Did they need to remove the part of mandatory? Because there is an issue with voter engagement and voter apathy and Nigerians turning out to vote, right? What will be a real solution to that problem?
I said this yesterday. I got a little time to speak on this yesterday. There's voter apathy without a doubt, and the numbers that are recorded, those accredited voters, it's okay. It's not bad. So the difference lies between the registered voters and those who actually turn up to vote. Different things could be responsible for this. People may have left the country. Some people may be sick. Well, if someone's religion forbids them from voting, then I don't expect that it should be on the voters register in the first place. Different things. And then you now check the terrain, conduciveness of voting on that day. Like I mentioned yesterday, in the last elections, people were going out to vote and there was so much turmoil in different polling units. So someone who has not left the house and has seen all that is going on the news, how do you think that person is going to step out to go and vote and endanger their lives simply because you want to exercise your civic duty? I said yesterday, and I reiterate my point. The first step, there's sensitization, yes, but I think there was ample sensitization during the last electoral cycle. Sensitization, yes. After sensitization, you need to create a credible electoral process. You need to make people have faith in the system. First of all, even after registering, to go and collect your voter's card is such a hassle. Can't there be a better way to go about this? Can we think about embracing electronic voting? Although the question now will be, are we really ready for that? We can see the saga that is going on with JAM and, the exam centers and everything. Are we really ready for electronic voting? But we have to take the bull by the horns. We can see what happened with the beavers. So that may be a more conducive way to go about it, encourage people to do more. A lot of people on the voters register are in diaspora. They are disenfranchised by the fact that they are in diaspora. So rather than looking for how to make voting mandatory, shouldn't we start looking into these other things that can make voting more appealing for people to come on board and come out and cast their votes? And most especially, I believe that the biggest issue for people is that they have no trust in the system. They have no faith in the system. So our electoral system, our electoral process, it's not encouraging at all. People will say, do my votes actually count? People must have confidence to know that their votes count. When there's that trust, you don't have to beg people to come out and vote. They will come out by themselves willingly. So there's a lot of work to be done, and quite frankly, making voting mandatory for people 18 years and above, that is the last step. That is, we're not even supposed to be touching that step until we have fixed these other issues that we have. Sensitization.
Right.
Give us an easier system to deal with.
Right.
Trust.
Yeah, Uchenna, and speaking of trust, and sensitization, very quickly for Honorable, if this bill be passed into law, what will enforcement look like? How are you going to track every Nigerian who voted or didn't vote? Because you just said that the census has not been concluded, has not been done in 20 years? And so we don't know how many Nigerians actually are there. We don't have the addresses. Addressing is an issue. Formal addressing is an issue, especially in Lagos and other parts of, the hard-to-reach area. So the question is, how is this going to be enforced? How would you be able to hold Nigerians accountable? How will you know who voted or who didn't vote?
Vague aspects of the issues with this, with implementing this bill. My co-participant here rightfully said, we are actually not totally ready for this enforcement. A lot has to be done. It would require a lot of funds also. A lot of, like you just mentioned, the census, a lot of process cleaning, electoral process cleaning. She mentioned the voter card issue. It's only 85 million thereabout out of 95 million collected voters card. We had 95 registered voters. Only 85 collected their voters card before elections. And then the security issues. So enforcing it will be a huge task, but we have to start somewhere. So we can start by the time we get to the lawmakers. I want to really make this clear. This has come to the fore, and this will also re-emphasize the fact that the state has a lot to do about security. The state has a lot to do about holding and implementing and enforcing our laws, holding people accountable for defaulting. The state has a lot to do for encouraging good electoral processes, supporting it, funding it, and then allowing the National Assembly oversight these bodies to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do with these funds and make electoral processes clean. So this bill has only brought, the importance of voter participation into being. Like I said, it's a process. First of all, it has gone through second reading, fine. It is not the end. After second reading comes the real technical issues, dissecting, and they say when nothing is put down in paper, no work is done. So the technical issues will be done and things will be put down on paper. We will not assume. At that point, the public has a final say whether or not this bill will go through. And believe me, I know for sure that the intent of the House was to bring to the knowledge that participation is key to legitimize democracy. So
Honorable Victor Obuzo, we want to say thank you very much. We actually have crossed into our second hour, but thank you very much for clarifying most of these, and we hope that we find a middle ground here, not just us, but everybody out there. Thank you very much also, Uchenna Akimbade for joining us again from yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. As yet, we close the curtain for this discussion. We do hope that conversations like this will continue as we, as we push for a quest to deepen our democracy. Let's go on a short break, shall we? When we return, we'll bring you the news and more on Breakfast Extra. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. It's time for us to bring you breakfast headlines here on News Central Television. And I'm Judith at TV. Let's begin in West Africa, where the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced a planned shutdown of the Port Harcourt Refinery Company for maintenance commencing on 24th of May 2025. In a statement issued on Saturday, NNPC's Chief Corporate Communications Officer, Femi Shoneye, said the shutdown is part of a broader maintenance and sustainability assessment aimed at enhancing the refinery's efficiency and long-term performance. NNPC Limited assured the public of a smooth and transparent process, adding that it is working closely with stakeholders, including the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Let's also tell you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved a fresh round of federal appointments across key national institutions. Former Senate President Ken Namadi has been appointed chairman of the Nigerian Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, while ex-Edo Deputy Governor, apologies for that, As we said earlier, the former Senate President Ken Namani has been appointed chairman of the Nigerian Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, NIPS, while ex-Edo Deputy Governor Philip Shuaibu has been named Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Sports. Other appointees include Omobolanle Akinyemi Obi as DG of the Nigerian Senior Citizen Center and Dr. Shegun Aina as DG of the Academic Staff College of Nigeria. Also, Senator Pius Ayim has been appointed chairman of the National Merit Award Committee, and Honorable Asebe Felita Bashir has been named DG of the National Center for Women Development. And on to Akwa Ibom State, where the Governor Umoeno has directed his commissioners and appointees to either defect with him to the All Progressives Congress APC or resign from his cabinet. The governor issued the directive during a state executive council meeting, confirming weeks of speculation about his defection. He emphasized that while his appointees are not obligated to join him in the APC, they cannot remain in office while belonging to another party. Eno has said his decision stems from internal crises within the PDP, which has made it difficult to guarantee a smooth electoral process. And off to Edo State, where residents of Urumi, located in Isan Northeast local government area of Edo State, have described reports claiming that 16 persons of northern extraction gruesomely murdered in the town by a mob are travelers and hunters as fake news and misinformation. They say the victims are alleged kidnappers responsible for the spat of kidnapping being experienced in the town. Amadin Uyi visited Urumi and tells us more.
It was a visit to Urumi located in Esan Northeast local government area of Edo State to uncover the true events that transpired leading to the gruesome murder of 16 Nigerians of northern extraction, labeled as kidnappers by residents of the town.
This is the scene where the unfortunate incident happened, where over a dozen suspected kidnappers were apprehended by vigilante, and following an argument, they were gruesomely murdered. Now we have tried to get to the root of the matter to know what exactly transpired on that said day. We have spoken to several who say everything culminated from the insecurity situation they are experiencing on this abandoned federal highway.
This is farming season and hardly you can see a woman or a man going to farm because of these killings and kidnapping. So in this place, we are living on the mercy of God every blessed day because of the kidnapping.
Samuel Inedia, who was recently released by kidnappers after being kidnapped for the second time, says that the kidnappers terrorizing the town are of northern extraction and dismissed claims that they were hunters.
They are Fulanis, sir. They are Fulanis. They are Fulanis. They didn't cover that. So, the Fulanis, if they are speaking language, then you must know. And if you see them for face, you know them quite. They are Fulanis, sir. They collected 15 million naira from me. And I bought some things, about 600 something thousand again. I buy ice, buy, what did they call them again that day? Colos. Buy food, half bag of beans, half bag of rice. I bought a plate of, 8 plate of fried rice from Homies. They said I should add three laps of chicken, which I did before they released me.
Also, the patron of the Esan Youth Awareness, a local anti-kidnapping vigilante group, throws his weight behind the claims by many residents of the town, saying that the alleged kidnappers were to blame for their ordeal. While he condemns their gruesome murder by a mob, he, however, insists reports claiming that they were hunters traveling from Port Harcourt to Kano is fake news and misinformation.
They were with guns, not the tradition, not the AK-47 type of gun. They were with their kind of gun. This that what we call day gun here, but they are Hausa type, because their own day gun is actually different from our own day gun here. So they even confirmed it that they were actually carrying some money, that the thing belongs to them. If, for example, they were carrying money individually, you can say this man is carrying 30,000, the other man is carrying 50,000. That is what we can realize in hunting in our bush here. Not even in a day, because where are the animals? Where is the bush here now to hunt?
The state government has set up a committee to investigate the incidents so as to get more clarity on the entire episode. Far away in Kano, the families of the victims are demanding compensation and the arrest of those responsible for their murder. In Uromi for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
And off to Southern Africa, where more than 200 miners who were trapped underground at the Simbaye Stillwater gold mine west of Johannesburg have been successfully rescued. The miners were stuck for over 24 hours on Friday. Management at the mine confirmed that all workers at the Loof shaft near the Westonia have been accounted for and are safe. News Central's Bongani Ziziba has more.
For more than 24 hours, a lifetime compressed into a terrifying moment as these miners were trapped deep within the earth belly, desperate and struggling for survival. Now, a triumphant emergence, these men and countless others braved the fear of the unknown.
We were all shocked, in fact, wondering if we'll come out or not. So even now, I'm still asking myself, is me who are out now? Because the problem is that we were afraid that we are going to die.
Ndiziva ndijabulile because akuna muntu ulimele noma kuhlele isikhathi eside akuna muntu ulimele akuna muntu ushonile. So I'm feeling very happy because sonke siphephile.
Outside, they were met with anxious and anticipation. Family members, friends who have been pounding prayers and tears, maelstrom of uncertainty.
Akho mnandi akho ndawo engekho buhlungu ndiphethwe sisisu kungokuba umntanam uphi akatyanga from yesterday ngo5 o'clock till now abusesemgodini
khange sihlale kusesihleli xa sivuye kuthiwa abasebenzi abaphumanga emgodini sivuya kakhulu ngendlela emangalisayo nje andazi baningathini nje.
The Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union says the mine management should adhere to mine safety.
What we have experienced here is that the substandard, if the secondary escape route was not substandard, they could have used that one to take employees out. Now it shows that there is a substandard of the secondary escape route.
Many of them say they are happy that they are out and they are now going back to their homes to meet their families. At the Stillwater's Simanye Gold Mine, West Johannesburg, for News Central, Bongani Siziba.
That's all we can take at this hour. We'll bring you more at the top of the hour for 10 a.m. I am Judith at TV. It's back to Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. Stay with us.
Now, welcome inside the second hour for Breakfast Extra here this morning. Now, in a story of resilience, hope, and also gradual recovery, in Nigeria's northeast, where the scars of insurgency run deep, the people of Marte local government area in Borno State are finding their way back to normal life. After years of displacement caused by terrorist attacks, residents are returning home, reopening markets and also resuming farming and also trading activities. This quiet but powerful comeback speaks to the growing security gains in northern Borno and the strength of community spirit. News Central's Umaru Kirawa has been on the ground, crisscrossing the hinterlands to bring us the exclusive report. Here's his report.
It's time to grind greens for these families to get what to eat after their resettlement to the community of Marte in Nigeria's northeast. Markets have reopened and traders report rising patronage as community members gradually rebuild their livelihood.
wallahi wa ndiro suna da askira biya kun budu mota ndiro jin makka kudon da sha o sha ko zana ba insha Allah askira
Marte kile wasile kirma kasunde daran so kasunde tidin di kwade le zakare le zago za isen yarwa kare le zago za isen kindaram da jiti futu chaya dumaro wallana
kuro soja bi kare ise nalan shango dan yana da lo ku kandoro leno kumaro lo kumar maka karal yenye kare da shiro askira yana bare do bana imari da ya kokori anjiro sojin.
Morale is also high among military personnel and members of the civilian JTF in Marte owing to recent gains in the pursuit of peace and security.
Okay, Your Excellency, are you happy now that your effort seems not to be going in vain, but it's yielding positive results?
I'm very happy. I'm very happy, and inshallah, everything will be well. Everything will be well. I want to commend the federal government, commend the Nigerian army, commend the Nigerian military, and all other stakeholders that have participated fully in order to ensure a return of lasting peace and prosperity to Borno State and other parts of Nigeria. Both the federal government and the Nigerian armed forces have responded positively for our request to enhance security in the affected communities. We have seen many troops were deployed. We have seen many equipments were deployed, and we have seen the relocation of army officers from Maiduguri to some of the hinterlands.
We journeyed through the rugged and dusty terrains of communities in both northern and central Borno, areas once under the grip of terror. One thing is certain, the people remain resilient in the face of continued threats from insurgents intent on destabilizing their communities.
Marte community continue to witness success as the security forces combined with the civilian JTF, hunters and vigilantes continue to take the battle to the terrorists in their enclaves. Communities now have a sigh of relief to sleep with their two eyes closed. In Marte, for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Powerful visuals there from Marte, from despair to determination. The people of this once deserted community are writing a new chapter, and it's one of restoration. And so joining us now is Umaru Kirawa, our correspondent, who filed that report and has been closely following just the developments in the conflict-affected areas of Borno State. Umaru, well done, and thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you for coming on. I mean, you've just returned from Marte. And from your visuals there, you can see how excited and how jubilant, but most importantly, how expectant the people are, for peace and how happy they are. Just can you describe what it was like on the ground and what stood out the most for you about, the people of Marte and the town itself?
Well, thank you so much, Judith. One important thing is clear, the resilience of the people in the hinterland communities. And most importantly, the leadership, because without the courage, without the determination, and without the deliberate effort by the state governor, who led, including troops and vigilantes, hunters, and so on and so forth, virtually everybody is out of Marte. Community members run out of Marte. They traveled for miles, for about 25 kilometers, to Dikwa town, where they had 2 days there after when the state governor went there, met them, spoke to them in their language, in Kanuri, telling them that they have no any other option than to stay in their community, because if they continue to give chance to the insurgents now in times, they will just plant IEDs in their communities. And that community will be taken over. Nobody can access that community, and it will be deserted. So it's a challenge, in addition to the security challenge, whereby the terrorists attack military formations in Marte. So the situation is a very dicey situation. Although there were no signs of the terrorists attacking community members, but they have attacked the military formation there, and of course they have burned down some government facilities, including the government lodge and others in Marte. So it was a very harrowing experience for the community members because it was 4 years when they were resettled back to Marte, and in recent time they are witnessing this. But hopefully, with the push on the side of the leadership, they are now back in the community, and most importantly, socioeconomic activities have started, as we have seen in the report, and community members are happy. But the community members, one thing they are complaining about is the issue of agricultural input, so that they can pick up the pieces of their lives and earn a means of survival, because it's an agrarian settlement whereby the people usually used to farm and fish. It's the major occupation of the people in the community. So this is what the people now are calling on government, development partners, and so on and so forth to intervene in terms of supporting them so that they can pick up the pieces of their lives after the experience of displacement and, of course, threat to their life and so on and so forth. So by and large, Marte now is peaceful. Everybody is going about their normal day-to-day activities. They go out for firewood, and that is majorly what they do. And then they do minor businesses like selling of groceries and so on and so forth in the community.
Umaru, very interesting, like Judith said from before, the visuals that you actually brought to us. But I wanted to ask what factors actually are aiding life returning to normalcy in Marte. I'm asking this because I want to know how this can be replicated in other parts of Borno. What are these factors, and how has the government been a big part to making these factors help the situation?
First is the issue of trust. The issue of trust. That is why initially I said the issue of leadership and, of course, community resilience. The moment community are resilient enough, like that of Marte, and they trust the government, telling them that they have no any other option than to go back to their community, and the government will provide the necessary wherewithal to ensure their safety and security, so that terrorists will not take over that has been the experience that used to be. They know the pains of displacement and so on and so forth. And all of a sudden, even the federal government intervened. We've seen deployment of troops and hardware, military hardware, and so many sophisticated weapons that were deployed, not only to Marte, but including Dikwa and other neighboring communities in the fringes of the Lake Chad. So as such, the issue of trust is critical because the moment there is issue of trust deficit between the government and the community, then there will be problem. And the issue of trust, that is a critical factor in the resettlement of Marte community despite the terror attack. And most importantly, even the civilian JTF hunters and vigilantes, including the military that were there, they take the fight now to the insurgents in their enclaves, which is what really needs to be done. And of course, experts are also advocating that deliberate efforts and actions are needed to ensure the safety, the protection of border communities, both towns and villages, right, so that infiltration of foreign terrorists cannot destabilize the relative peace that people are enjoying in communities and villages.
All right. I mean, Umar, I do have to ask, as socioeconomic life returns back to normalcy, normalcy also means, schools, clinics, infrastructure, worship centers or places, the mosques, for example, and primary healthcare centers as well. Is that also back and fully functional, or is that taking just a slow pace, especially schooling for the children?
For now, it's a gradual process. The people, most importantly, are back in the community. They are safe, they are alive, and nobody, there were no incidences of report of deaths for now. There is no incidences of such. But I believe the government really need to redouble effort in ensuring that issues of access to education is enhanced. Like we've seen the state governor launching or flagging the construction of hospital at the town, of course, markets for people. So I believe these critical things that government really need to work hard towards ensuring so that people will have access to those basic amenities. They have water. I was not opportune to go to schools, the location of their school, but I believe the government really needs to work hard in ensuring that access to school and, of course, access to, they have primary health care. Access to primary health care are enhanced with deployment of more personnel so that their needs can be met in time.
And that's very, very important. I mean, you have covered conflict zones, right? And you are right in the heart of it. I must say thank you for just bringing this story to us. It's a story of hope and a beacon of light at a time like this where insecurity seems to want to be back on the rise. I must say thank you for your coverage and just giving us a bit of window into the progress that's happening in Marte and other communities in Borno State. Umar Kira, our correspondent with News Central Television. Once again, thank you. Let's go to a short break, shall we? When we return, we switch to politics as the APC has now endorsed the president for a second term. After the break, stay with us. Our second big story for this hour, it's official. It's the political season and it's warming up early. It's at the recently concluded APC National Summit, Nigeria's ruling party gave its nod for endorsement of, or rather its nod of endorsement for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to run for a second term in 2027. Now, with 22 governors, party chieftains, and even National Assembly leadership all throwing their weight behind the president, the APC appears united, or so it seems. But the endorsement is already stirring criticism from opposition parties like the PRP, political analysts, and segments of the civil society who question both the timing and the implications for internal democracy. Now, President Tinubu, on his part, insists that Nigeria is not a one-party state, but, quote, a one-party making a difference, end quote.
So what does this endorsement mean politically? Is it strategic positioning, or is Nigeria seeing the early signs of a democratic imbalance? Joining us now are Devo Korea, political and public affairs analyst. Also joining us, Honorable Ahmed Musa Momo, Chief Executive Officer, Edo, FEMA Project, New Map, EIB. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you very much for joining us here on the program this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Grand. Good to have you too. Now let's begin already. So I want to first of all take a let me test the temperature with the two of you on what you thought about the APC National Summit. First, Devo, if you'd please go. Let's get your overall assessment of it.
I know when you were trying to tell me about this event, you said the political affairs in terms of elections 2027 is warming up. No, I need to wake Nigerians up. Political activities for 2027 elections is in full swing. And I'm happy that the APC, unlike before, has thrown the ball out there and they are playing offensive. Let us be clear about what is happening. These politicians are not sleeping. They have midnight meetings and they are literally setting the stage. I've always said it, and people should understand that politicians are like Nollywood actors. They're like theater people who are always setting the stage to put something forward to you. Your duty as a citizen is not to get swung about what is happening, because what they're simply doing is that they're ensuring that they perpetuate themselves in power. And a major question to be asked is it all about me? Is it all about you and me? Is it about my interest, or is it about them? That's what's important. And unfortunately, the APC is consolidating on the political side, not so much on governance, not so much on the delivery of the dividends of democracy or the campaign promises that they made, but more so about the political structure, okay, of the party. And as you can see, with the gale of defections and more to come, and the current, inability of the opposition to be able to hold itself. And when I say hold itself, there's no one opposition party that's been able to put forward a stable stand. When I say stable stand, an opposition party is not just to counter the existing government. Remember, it's not just at the federal level, also at the state level. So if you have a PDP governor or a LP governor, it's expected that the opposition, meaning APC and the rest, counter them as to check them as to whether they're delivering on their services. We're not seeing any level of stability in their structure. And if they can't be stable in structure, what really do they have to bring to the table regarding 2027? Because you must first prove yourself within this timeline if you're going to be an alternative or a credible alternative for Nigerians come 2027. So I commend APC. I give them their flowers. They're setting the stage. I want to see more of the opposition set stage. I want to see more oppositions, whether the ones we know of or new ones to come, because this is the time. This second year into the third year is the time that you make the difference. If not, if you come out a year to the time, it's going to be too late.
All right. Let me come to you, Mr. Musa, and also get your own opinion on this, your perspective on this. The APC has now endorsed President Tinubu, along with the National Assembly, 22 governors, and of course the entirety of your party. Are you also for the president?
Of course. I'm not just, when you say if I'm for the president, I am for the president because I'm a member of the APC. As a party, I'm a card-carrying member of the APC. So I must throw my weight behind the president. And Edo, as you can see, Edo was first to launch as soon as possible in 2027 because looking at what he's doing, the way he has encouraged Edo, the federal roads, Obaseki said, cannot be repaired. Even the state government cannot, contribute in putting repairs to it. Even at the APC summit meeting, you heard when David Umahi was, commending the governor and saying that my governor, Senator Monday Okpewolo, was one of the governors who took it upon himself to finance 23-kilometer road, federal road, with, our state allocation. So it's kudos for our party, for our party to endorse the president, right from the National Assembly down to the State Assembly and all to the local government level.
Right.
All the people you saw there, right, all party members from the world.
But why now, though? Why not now? That's a big question everyone's asking. Barely 2 years into his administration, and just barely 2 years away, or more than 2 years away from 2027. Why now endorsing him as a presidential candidate for the party? Shouldn't we give enough time to see the dividends of the renewed agenda initiative, or better yet, the fulfillment of all of the promises from his manifesto during his run for 2022-2023? Why now?
Yeah, my sister, why now is that when you wake up tomorrow morning, 2027 will be here. So it's, a roadmap. It's a roadmap, and the vision is clear. You can see what the president is doing. If you say you don't know what the president is doing, Dave Umahi, the Minister for Works, highlighted how many roads that Nigerians, the federal government is undergoing in the whole country, about 33 roads. So you say that the president is not doing something in that sector. You look at the agricultural sector, you look at the environmental sector, all the ministers gave their blueprints on what they have done so far. So when you say why now, we have to showcase, okay, why now? Why now? You saw the other parties trying to go around, even going to the former president to align, to fight. So we will allow them, we will sleep and be looking at them to, go around the whole country, bringing people together, we'll fold our hands to look at them. We all also have to wake up, because it has, we are sitting, sitting now in the imp of affair. So no one will allow him to be taken away from office, knowing fully where you are doing better.
Well, Honorable Musa,
so,
Honorable Musa, many would argue that it is very distracting for the administration, not focusing on what needs to be done for the betterment of the people's lives. But I'll come back to that. I want to come to Devo Okori regarding certain proclamations that were made by the president during his speech at the summit. He made a couple of them, several actually. One of them was his reiteration that subsidy is gone and that it is being rechanneled to the people and that they are feeling the dividend, they're feeling the benefits of it. I would like to know if this is so. And there is the one where he said there is nothing wrong with a one-party system. Devo, I don't know, do you agree that there is nothing wrong with a one-party system? Does this say democracy in any way? Your thoughts, please.
Question. The first part, in terms of whether Nigerians are reaping from the benefits of the two economic, or let's call it fiscal, policies that were instituted with the beginning of this administration in 2023, which is the removal of subsidy on especially PMS, and then also the harmonization of the black and official markets, okay? Also the subsidies on FX. We've always said it, and I need people to understand. Those two policies, the presidents, anybody that was there had no option, because the last administration tanked the economy by not addressing those issues, which were both leakage points for the country. However, what we expect is that there are almost like 10 steps that need to be taken. So it's not just to move the removal of subsidies. If you remove subsidies, obviously what has happened is that Nigerians are forced to pay more for goods and services, which has created a cost of living crisis, which is called hardship, which is called hunger, which many Nigerians, if our poverty level was at, remember, we're 200 million. If 150 million people fall into multidimensional poverty, imagine how many now are, are struggling. That's leaving us to around 180, right? Now, what you have also is another high level of inequality, because you hear terms like the 1% or the 1% or the 5%, meaning a few people have all the money. So it's not as if some people have not gained. That is true. Secondly, even on the government level, with the removal of subsidy, saw the increase of revenue to states and the federal government. The question is, at the federal level, have we seen an improvement on various sectors in terms of social infrastructure, education, health, transportation, finance, infrastructure? At the state level, have your state governments been able to, how many of them are able to pay minimum wage, the new minimum wage? How many of them are able to bring about that at the state level, address the environmental issues, pool investment into the state, increase the employment generation, partner with the private sector? How many of them have delivered? So I don't actually believe the federal or the state has actually taken further those initial steps that they took. Now, which is why we question how come already 2 years in, they're already looking at 2027. Have they finished the exam that they're already looking at saying that they've promoted themselves? Now, the second part of the question that you asked, one-party states, I don't think the president was advocating for one-party states. Literally, he was just saying, because the president is a Democrat, okay? He was literally just saying that it was one party that was actually driving the dividends of democracy in Nigeria. Now, as you can see, nobody's being held at gunpoint, okay? It's a constitutional democracy, so everybody's entitled to associate as he pleases. Now, the question is this: what is actually happening? Why are all the politicians moving in one direction? We know already that Nigerian politics, the gap between the political activities and civil reality, which is the life of the masses, is not together. There's a big gap. And the question is not so much of our politicians. I told you they're actors. They can take any action they like. They can posture, they can stage, they can create, as APC has always done, try to elevate the imaging, the optics. However, the hard reality of the lives that Nigerians face, not just within us, you and me here in Nigeria, even at the international level, people are not deceived. The economic indicators also show that we're not where we should be, okay? Now, the question is, why is the opposition, why is the opposition not able to get its act together? Now, let me break it down just slightly a bit.
Very quickly.
In the PDP, the only reason they're having problems is that the PDP could not follow their own rules. Hence the creation of Wike in the G5 moving away, right?
Yeah.
Hence the issue of the chairman being changed and also the national secretary. In the Labour Party, someone finished his tenure and has not been able to leave. Why are we showing ourselves that we can't get our acts together? And this is a problem, because it's not so much about the APC. When the APC represents a standard in opposition politics, when the PDP rode over this country and claimed that they would rule for 60 years, APC was at work, right? Creating a mirror as to, look, this is not the best, we can give you better. Whether they've delivered on that, it's up to Nigerians to judge. I don't think they have.
Right.
But the point is this: why is the opposition not learning from what was done in the past as to how to create a strong position against the ruling party?
I must say here that we did extend an invitation to one of the biggest opposition, and that is the PDP. And unfortunately, they couldn't make it because they're all preparing for their NEC, which is going to be happening this Tuesday, a national NEC. But let me come to you, Mr. Musa, and have you make a case for the APC, okay? The presidency have said, and I'm going to quote him here, "We are not a one-party state, but a one-party making a difference." So I have to ask you, please, for the sake of Nigerians who are displeasured, help us jog our memory and just state 2 accomplishments that would, affirm the statements that the president has made, that it's a party that is working. Juxtaposing it to the issues that Nigerians face.
If I want to align with Okoro very, very well, I thank him so much for his analysis, but you see that it is very clear that even positive change are difficult to accept, but it is also time to metamorphosize. I want to let you know that APC as a party is working. Everywhere in this country, the state governors are working. The presidency, the federal government is also working. And when the president says, oh, he didn't mean that APC is a one-party state, we need challenge. They should also challenge. The governors and the opposition should challenge in their various areas. You can see, like you said,
I think it's unfair to say that the governors or the opposition to challenge. Mr. Rom, I think it's unfair to say that. Don't you think so? Because when we look at the case of the Akwa Ibom State, the governor, after speculations for months now, the governor have now asked those that are appointed and elected under his cabinet in his administration to defect with him to the APC or risk being fired. So, doesn't that seem like coercion to you?
Of course. Sorry. Of course, I am an appointee of the governor of Edo State. When he's assuming he's moving to another party, you say I should stay in the other party because I love the party so much.
No, how about you stay but how about you stay for credibility and for, for capability and the fact that you are eligible and qualified for that role? Why does party loyalty have to be at the top of the list for you to keep a job or stay in your job?
If there is credibility in any way, Atiku would have been moving from one place to another. There is no credibility in this thing. Leave credibility. It's not about credibility. It is about the party that is working, that is moving the train of the country. For me, as an appointee of a government, you don't expect me to stay. I will say it is, except I'm voted for. If I'm voted for, even when I'm voted for, because the 14 members of the Edo State House of Assembly were opposition of the other party or in a different camp, they were not allowed to be in the State House of Assembly. That is even the same party, not being together in the same camp. Because they had a different camp, those were for Adams, those were for the governor. In the same party, even before the governor left. So you are talking about credibility. They had that credibility, but they suffered for it. So there is nothing like credibility. Those are people that were voted for. So for me, when you talk about credibility in moving from here to here, okay, if they don't move with the governor will fire them.
No, I think you're mistaking what I'm saying. Mr. Musa, I think you're mistaken. What I'm saying is that, I mean, given the case of Eno-Omo of Akwa Ibom State, there are persons who were elected under a different party by the electorate, and that is the people of Akwa Ibom, and those who were appointed. Are you saying that because they refused to defect from the party that they were elected under, or from whatever party that they came on from, to another party, if they don't do that, they are going to be fired from their job, not because they are not qualified, or not because they are not eligible, not because they don't have the capability, but simply because they are not going to defect to your party? Is that not, does that not speak to something that is grossly incorrect about our society?
Undemocratic.
And our democracy.
My sister, I can take exception from that the governor cannot say somebody that is voted for should go with him or being fired. No, the governor knows the constitution. He knows that once you are voted for, you are allowed to take your right to do whatever you want to do. It's a constitutional right to be in a party. The governor is not forcing those in the assembly to move with him. He's only talking to those he appointed, which of course they have to follow Mr. Governor.
All right, so I mean, we could dwell on this. We can dwell on this about party loyalty and eligibility for a role, and a role that if you appoint me to be a press secretary tomorrow, or I can use my education degree and become a special advisor on education, would you say that I am not capable of that job anymore because I have refused to defect from News Central to BBC? Inshallah. But moving away from that, I do have to ask you, again, to my earlier question, make a case for the APC, 2 accomplishments that can stamp them as a working party in the eyes of Nigerians.
2 accomplishments is one. I thank God that every of the presidential aspirants campaigned with subsidy removal, and the subsidy has been removed, and Nigerians are enjoying it. Though it's difficult, things are a little bit difficult for Nigerians, but it's helping Nigerians. Local governments now get more allocation to work for their people. State governments now get more allocation to work for their people, because the subsidy was actually in the few hands of Nigerians, few Nigerians. But now it has been removed. It has decentralized to everybody. We are now enjoying it, but it's going to take time. And that is one of them that Mr. President have done. And if you talk of the other issues of infrastructure, you can see some of the infrastructure that the federal government are undergoing under the Ministry of Works and Housing, under the Ministry of Regional Development. So I think there are many that we can say here that will make us continue to ask for this endorsement from Mr. President, or ask to stay more in power. My only prayer for Mr. President is that God keep him fit, because give him long life, and for him to pilot the affairs of this country, because he's doing very well. To me, he's doing very well. He's and to Nigerians, I think he's doing very well.
Honorable Musa, hopefully I'll have time to ask 1 or 2 questions before the end of this session here, but I want to come to Okori. Let's talk about the political plurality in Nigeria. Now, many have said, whether it's the APC, the PDP, or the ABC, or whatever, that's the same thing. The president said that the APC is very welcome to anybody who wants to join in from whatever party. This means that you can bring in your baggage, you can bring in your bad habits, you can bring in whatever it is. It's still the same party at the end of the day, whether APC or PDP. The PRP actually told that this threatens Nigeria's political plurality. What do you think about this? How does this help democracy in any way, where everyone is welcome and this party hopping continues?
The more we talk about the APC, I'm sorry to say, we're only promoting the All Progressive Congress. Every party is entitled to create its own structure. Remember in the last election, we're always speaking structure. This is what it's about. Judith, you asked a question about the forcing appointees to follow you. It's their own internal democracy. It's left to you to decide whether, is that the type of government I want to be with? Is that the type of party I want to be with? If you realize that your political party, like the APC, does not have internal democracy, it's your choice. That's your franchise. Now, the politicians have a position to take. The electorate, us citizens, have our own, we are entitled to our own franchise likewise, to choose which party we believe is going to work in our best interest. Now, whilst the APC is playing its own game, setting its own stage, just like you see in the private sector, a few people come together and start a bank, or they start a cement company, or they start a small buka down the road. What are other political parties doing to either institute their own form of democracy, or what are they doing to show that actually they follow their own rules? What are they doing to show that they're not always fighting, that they actually have a plan, an agenda? You don't actually have to. Every political party must not run for presidency. Some political parties, depending on your structure, based on INEC rules, you can actually be set up just to win local government elections, okay? Which I even recommend. Start with the local government and prove that you actually have something for the people, right? That you can actually deliver democracy, fix the roads, build the schools, attract investments, work in partnership with other states, ensure that your people do not go hungry, raise the general welfare of the people living within your local government. You also have political parties that can play at regional level, okay? It's not by force that everybody plays at the federal level. And the point is, it's all about Nigerian citizens coming together, both local and diaspora, putting their interests forward, just like you see it happen abroad, having constant conversations with governance. I always, let me borrow from the president again, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. A town hall is different. I repeat myself, a town hall is different. That is the hallmark of democracy, governance and civil society, always in conversation. Every, maybe, let's say, with your local government chairman or with your governor, since the governors are always bullying the local government, I expect to see governors talking to their people in town halls, in all their local governments every 100 days, or let's say every quarter. I expect the president and his ministers, just like they're doing, to not only presenting their, how do we call it, performance, having a town hall. A town hall means you speak, I speak. I listen, you listen. That's how it works. But we're not seeing that. All we see is they set the exam sheets, they tell us the answers that are meant to be given, and we don't get to communicate. Don't forget, during the 2023 elections, these same politicians went around the whole country, visited every local government. What happened? They were engaging citizens. How come that ended? How come that stopped? How come we're not still having that committee eat agbado and what is the other one? Frying roasted plantain with us. That is democracy. So all I'm saying, I'm answering your question, Mazino, that this is what is not happening. So if you only do it at the time of election, it means you're playing me. It means you're deceiving me. So, but it's not for the politicians. It is for the citizens to hold these politicians who made these promises to account. You said A, B, and C. What have you done? This budget has been accrued, has been signed, has been passed into law. What has been delivered? The constituency projects that are tied to about how much was reported by a budget the other day, about 7 trillion? Yes, one by one. In my own location, what did you deliver? Where are the boreholes? Where are the dams that you have fixed? Where are the increased manpower by police? Till date, this is almost 2 years. State police has not been passed. Are you surprised you have insecurity going on in the country? I repeat myself finally. Till date, state policing has not been passed. That is what the extra budgets that the petroleum removal of subsidy gave was supposed to deliver. Till date, it has not been passed.
Devo, first of all, thank you very much. Finally, so that's what the president meant. But let me come to Honorable Musa here. Honorable Musa, just before Devo's entry here, you talked about the fact that the subsidy removal has helped with a lot of Nigerians. It's alleviated them, is what I think you were trying to say. Many would actually counter that and ask exactly how has it done so? If you say that the removal of petrol subsidy has helped the inflation rate, even if that's the direction that you want to go, and as the president claims that by the end of 2025, it's going to go down to 15%, coming from 34% from last year, Many people argue that that is actually not feasible. So how exactly has it helped the masses where even the increase in salaries or minimum wage still can't buy a bag of rice, and everybody is still bending and groaning over the weight of the economy currently? How exactly has it helped the masses?
Well, I told you earlier that even Dave Okorie said it, that the subsidy removal has actually helped the economy. Because you and I know that the subsidy removal, since the subsidy removal came on board, Nigerians, both state government, local governments, the allocation they used to get has gone up to a level that even local government can now tie roads, fix their maternity, fix their, schools, pay their schools, pay salaries up to date. But when this subsidy was not removed, it was in the hands of the few. And Nigerians were staffs of maybe schools, government agencies were suffering. But now the state can pay salary as at when due. So that has helped. Okay, you say it cannot buy a bag of rice. Everybody must not buy a bag of rice at home. I don't buy a bag of rice in my house, even as a member of government. In the little I can buy, I appropriate, I buy in my house. Everybody must not say, oh, because they pay you 75,000 minimum wage, you go and use it to buy a bag. But there are other things you do. So for me, when I mean...
What other things could I do with my 75,000 naira minimum wage that will help me feed a family of 3? Honorable Musa, please do assist me. If I can't buy a bag of rice, which is Nigeria's staple food, if you don't have anything, at least you have rice at home. What else? What alternative do I have that 75,000 naira minimum wage could pay or could get?
But I know it's not only rice you eat at home, my brother. Now it's not only everybody refer to rice.
It's everybody's fallback.
When you talk of wage, the minimum wage is just the 75,000 naira they will pay you. It is level. You get to a level where that 75,000 will metamorphose to 150,000. It's not just they pay you 75,000 naira as the salary. You must have a level. And so when people say 75,000, it's just an increase. It's just an increment that metamorphoses to the level that you are in government or agencies or office. So for me, forget about, we should just look at what the government is doing. The subsidy removal has really helped. You and I know. And it is not everybody that is enjoying it. But then those who even the farmers, they enjoy part of it because they grow all these things and they make money out of it. So for us, when you say it has really not helped Nigeria, or somebody is saying it has, or the opposition is saying that, it's not what we should dwell on. We should dwell on the fact that the country is moving, things are fine, and it will be fine later on.
Don't you think it's hard to, to tell, the average Nigerian who is at level 1 and it looks like his future is almost bleak, the cost of living crisis is at an all-time high. It really just costs to exist. His one-bedroom apartment or his self-contained Shoki cost, or shoals, as they call it, costs 1.5 million, and he still has to somewhat find some way, get 3 or 5 hustle with the job and still have to, take public transportation and still send money back home to the family on 75,000 naira. And I think that's a conversation we like to discuss. We always bring to the fore when it comes to public scrutiny about how sometimes we seem to be very out of touch, when it comes to the average Nigerian and not us who is seated here. But I must come to you, Devo, before we, close the curtain of the discussion. Devo, do you feel the sense of foreboding that I do, right? This party has widened its broom and, swept more people into its house, As you keep sweeping all of this coming into this house, sooner or later, it's going to burst at the seams. Are we ready for that spill? And what would that spill look like for Nigeria's democracy in the next 4 years? Devo.
60. There have always been different associations and movement of birds from one side to the other, okay? From the NCNC Action Congress to military governments, then we now had the SDP, NRC, then we now had the motley crew that formed the APC, PDP, SDP, COA party. It will always continue. Remember, every party will deliver its own internal democracy. I'm sure at some point in the line, because I know the APC's internal democracy is not as together as they're banding themselves right now, the explosion will come. But like I said, it's not so much for Nigerians to be watching, you know, this sit-down-look mentality, just watching politicians play their game, because it's a game. What I expect Nigerian citizens to do is to, when I say hold them account, currently part of the out of touchness you see, the lack of sensitivity from the ruling class to the masses is because there's no sense of urgency. They're not afraid of citizens. They're not afraid that maybe they will lose their positions, they can be recalled, or that their party will lose in the next election. They're not afraid of it. And that is a major problem that as a people, we're going to have to resolve. Politicians are meant to, civil servants, politicians, and the, what I call it, political parties, they're meant to serve you, not rule over you. It's a mentality that was passed on from the military that most times people, anytime they play their games, even if it's by rigging and getting into power, all we do is we sit, fold our hands and wait until the next elections, hoping that a difference will come. And have you noticed, administration to administration, it seems to be getting worse. So my plea, right, and it's a plea to Nigerians to shine their eye, to wake up in a season like this. If a political party at the federal level has not delivered on its promise and is already talking about 2027, you should be bothered. At the state level, if your politicians or the executives, the governor and his cabinet, are not able to deliver on those things that they told you during the election, that you should be making noise. Dissent is not a crime. You're entitled to speak up and to speak out. You're entitled to walk down to your local government. The doors must be open. That's why you pay taxes, so that they listen to you and push the budgets where you most need it. That is what a democracy is about. Because if we don't do these things, remember, it's not just about the politicians, it's also about the people. If the people don't play their own parts, then it's not a democracy. All we're running is, yes, that one-party state or the unitary system or even a dictatorship. It's a choice we have to make, and one person cannot do that by himself. We all must play our role at our individual communities. Most times what we see in this country, you see a pothole on a road for 2 to 3 years. And in that community, they start shouting that Tinubu has not fixed our road. No, if you pay tax, that's if you do, you should be calling your local government chairman. And if the local government chairman is not delivering, you should be at the house of your state governor, morning, day and night. If you're not sleeping comfortably, they should not be sleeping comfortably. That's how this democracy works. When the leaders believe that the people are actually on their backs or on their neck, demanding for good governance, then they will give it.
Devo Korie, I want to say thank you very much. And also, Honorable Musa Momo, thank you very much as well. It's been quite an interesting conversation here. I'd like to say thank you for giving us your Sunday mornings. To our viewers, we say, do stay tuned. We've got more coming up, at least for the final hour here on Breakfast Extra. We'll be back. Welcome back. Final hour here, Breakfast Extra. Now, Africa's future is not just being imagined, it's being shaped, and the world is taking notice. Now, as conversations around economic self-determination, investment, and diaspora collaborations gain momentum, one major event is poised to take the spotlight. The Africa Ambassadors Economic Forum, scheduled for July 18th and 19th in Washington, D.C. It promises to bring together businesses and political leaders from across the continent and the African diaspora to deepen economic ties and redefine Africa's role in the global economy.
And now joining us this morning on our extra special is someone right at the heart of that conversation, and that's Dr. Omai Kofi. She is the founder of the Omai Network, a Harvard-trained socioeconomic strategist, global keynote speaker, and board member across youth-focused financial literacy foundations and international companies, and a court-appointed mediator known for applying conflict resolution to transformative economic development. And she is also the co-chair of the African Ambassadors Economic Forum Organizing Committee. And this morning, she brings insight, clarity, and vision to the table. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
I mean, good morning. I mean, let's just get started. You are the co-chair for the African Ambassadors Economic Forum Organizing Committee that's scheduled for the 18th of July at the Africa House in Washington, D.C., now followed by other activities that will also happen on the 19th. What inspired your connection to Africa's economic destiny, and how do you envision the continent's role in the global wealth shift?
Well, in America, we get partial information when it comes to Africa. And I started to recognize my connection through the Africans that do live in America, first and foremost. And then I did a genealogy test, everybody, and come to find out, dun, 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 I'm Igbo, right? So I'm Nigerian as well. And a lot of that information came from internal soul searching, internal discovery. But then as I connected with my African brothers and sisters here in America, I started to find out more. And I'm like, why are we not in Africa? Why are we not in Africa? And then I met with some key brothers, Brother David and Brother Uche. So Dr. Uche and Dr. David connected me through me coming to Africa. So it was me coming home, right, to Africa, to the continent, that I found more information out. So me getting away from where I come from and going back to where I belong, my origin. And so me coming to the continent was where I really understood and saw opportunities that were so vast. And I was like, they've been lying to us, you guys. So I was able to go home. And once I saw that, I made a connection with the right people. And here we are.
And as co-chair, what role do you think the AAE Forum will play in advancing this vision that you speak of?
Exactly. Well, first and foremost, it gives us insight and it puts us as insiders. I'm also an investor and a trader in the global markets. I'm a trader in different kind of financial opportunities and building assets. And it gives us the insider information that we've always needed by being connected to one another. So all of us throughout the diaspora have been told different things, but until we're involved and we become insiders, it's going to be very difficult to get a seat at that table. I'd rather just be the architect and build that table with other people that are building tables as well. And we only get a seat when we choose and we decide that it is our turn, it is our time, it is something that we want to do. So first and foremost, me being a chair, it makes me an insider. And now I have insider information and I can do more and I can be more empathetic and more intelligent emotionally and intellectually for what is needed at this time.
Now, Dr. Omai, you work in alternative investment and have a long-standing interest in emerging markets. In your opinion, I'd like to know, what are the most undervalued or maybe understated investments that maybe African investors are not looking at currently?
Excellent question. So first and foremost, at Harvard, they taught us about emerging markets. So you have to know that Africa is the top market. India and the Asian markets are the top markets in the world, right? 1 billion people in India, 1 billion people in Africa, 1 billion people in Asia. So that already was taught throughout Harvard. So people who get to go to Harvard, like myself, get that insider information. So what I believe and what I know is that the best investment are Africans, it's people, it's our minds, our intellectual property. Africa is the command center of the entire planet. So it's the people, it's the brain child, it's the intellect, it's the melanin, it's the details on the inside of us. People, Black people specifically and Africans specifically, that are the investment. We are the best investment that we're ever going to find. Look at gold at $3,300 or $1,600 or $4,000, and then look at melanin. It's like worth $33,000. Like, it's like there's nothing that moves without it on the planet. So that comes from our intellectual property. So I believe investments in agri-tech or intellectual property or human brain power is being overlooked.
I mean, they say the future now is those who are going to be, having this skills in silos instead of the future of wealth is those who are in charge of silos of human capital. But beyond, policies and projects, especially economic transformation, which often begins at the personal level, what is your personal philosophy when it comes to building generational wealth, and how does that philosophy align with the future of Africa's diaspora?
Right. Excellent question again. So it's you knowing that you're wealthy without the money, wealthy without the college degree, wealthy without is somehow our wealth identity, especially through a generational genealogy bloodline perspective, has been stripped from our brains and our minds. And that's all over the world. But in Africa, because the power that they're extracting from Africa is proof. The way that it's been colonized is proof. The dependency on Africa throughout the planet is proof that it comes from the people, not from the land. And so once people identify as wealthy, they're wealthy. Once people admit that they're wealthy, when they start making wealthier decisions, when they start thinking more wealthy, not so-and-so's wealth, but their own internal wealth, is not going to work anyway. I can tell you that you're beautiful, but if you don't believe it, you're not going to believe it. So somehow the identity of wealth they have to be reminded. I can't make you wealthy, but I can remind you that you're wealthy by showing you the wealth inside of you, whether that be through your education, whether that be through your input, your intellect, your skill set, your time that you put into something, your energy. And then we can start talking about bank accounts and money, because money is an energy. And without that energy, it doesn't flow. And so a lot of people just don't identify and they don't remember that they're wealthy. And so I'd be remiss not to say, remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the power to create wealth. And it's been with our ancestors and it's inside of us as well. Well, we're not taught that over and over, and we're told what to do and how to do it and how to think. And media shows us how to live our life, and entertainment teaches us how to live these false identities. So most people are just suffering from an identity crisis. And I believe that people like myself can reiterate the identity of wealth. I've been a millionaire since I was 26 years old. I'm 46. I know I look 12, but I'm 46 years old. And I've been a millionaire for so long, but it's so lonely and so boring that people don't want to hear that. How did you do it, Dr. O? Well, I identified with it first. I thought I was wealthy my whole life. I mean, even when we were on government assistance, I come from four years of government assistance, 4 years of a curse, in my opinion. And I just didn't think that that was the way to do it. So it was me identifying first and foremost and remembering that I'm wealthy. My smile is worth $1 billion, you know? So it was like that.
Well, I didn't know it was that easy. You know what? As from now on, I identify as wealthy. I am a millionaire in dollars. But then you will be hosting world leaders from across Africa at the AAE Forum this year in DC. So what message do you have for African leaders as they prepare to attend this event?
Right. Again, if you don't identify as wealthy, if you don't pass the wealth along to the people, what do you have it for? I know a lot of billionaires. I fly billionaires and millionaires into my city in Dallas, Texas, United States of America. I've been doing it since 2011. And I don't care how rich you are, and I don't care how many Rolls Royces you drive. If you're not going to distribute it back to the people, you're not wealthy, right? You're just rich. And so what I'm asking leaders to do is to distribute, please. I would rather be a distributor of wealth than a obtainer of it. It makes no sense. It's too expensive to maintain anyway. So I would rather find the minds, the brilliant minds of the people, and I'm asking leaders to pour back into the people that are out there really doing the right things by their communities, by their families, and by their own talent within. And so just reinvest in the talent in the people.
Right. I mean, Doctor, this has been sublime. Indeed, Africa is rising, and with champions like yourself, Dr. Omai Kofi, helping to drive the conversation, is time that we have, this conversation. And we look forward to this event happening July 17th and 18th and 19th in Washington, D.C. And we'll be watching from here. I'm sure News Central will be covering it as well, happening and in the month of July, on the 18th to the 19th of July in Washington, D.C. And our very own Managing Director and Editor-in-Chief of News Central TV, and that's Mr. Haide Akintemi, will also be there and be one of the speakers as well. Dr. Omai Kofi, once again, many thanks. We appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you.
I understand the date has now been changed to 20th? 18th to 20th?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so July 18th to 20th. All right, there we go. I just wanted to get the date correctly. But we'll be watching the Africa Ambassadors Economic meeting, a forum happening live for those 3 days. But once again, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
So we'll draw the curtains for this discussion. We'll come back after the break, shall we? Because we're going to wrap up the show with a bow. Stay with us.
Well, you're welcome. Final part or bits of the show here, and I'm enjoying the strips that we're about to show to you guys for today. We've got a very interesting one, albeit that today we have from just 2 dailies today, and that's the Daily Trust and I think Business Day, because they've got such fantastic strips and they're cartoonists. Absolutely grand. I'm not going to be doing this all by myself. Of course, Judith will be joining me in analyzing some of these. Now, if you had comments from during the week about the situation in Nigeria, Judith, you better bring them all out now. Let's take a look at this strip here from the Business Day. We've got about 3 of them, 2 of them related from the Business Day. But let's start with this one now. Now, God disposes jam. I don't know what it does and why, Now, this is the situation I was talking about from earlier.
God.
No, you wait.
No.
Hold on, Judith. Hold on, Judith.
No,
We've got another one.
I'm sorry, I can't hold it. What the?
We've got another one. We've got another one from Business Day as well that has to do with the same situation. But let's go back to that one from before now. Let's talk about this big snake here that we're all
listen.
So JAM came out to say that Nigerian youth are actually, well, let's just put it like it is, nonsense. You guys aren't doing well. It seemed, even to me at that point, like it was an indictment on the education system, on JAM itself. We also had the situation where the JAM boss registrar actually told how he cried. He cried on live television.
And the man wept.
If you were tuned, and the man wept. If you were tuned to JAM television, you would have seen this happen. Let's take a look at this. I wonder where the tears are coming from. Guilt? No. Garnish. He's just cooking something. Of course.
Swear.
Who's cutting onions?
I swear. Let him cook. Let him
nice
cook.
Nice one. It's funny now, but it was rather distasteful to actually see the initial claim by the registrar regarding the situation of things. I was asking, shouldn't we be actually asking you how bad you've done? Now, there were moments of absolute glitches, like the other cartoon was trying to tell, when it comes to the computer-based test that the students were supposed, the candidates were supposed to sit through. It was a horrendous experience for them to now come out and say, hey, we did our bit, we eliminated exam malpractice, and this is what we get. Half of Nigerian students didn't seem to know what to do or didn't seem to pass the examination. I don't know, there's indictment on every single juncture that you get to when it comes to the instance here with the Nigerian education system, and it's a very poor reality, if you ask me. Your take, Judith.
Look, this is, tears cannot cover inconsistency, incompetence, and just outright sheer disregard for the lives of your students. And listen, I don't think JAM really understands what they are. And I think that people need to, because this is not the first time, second or third time that the registrar has to come out every single time to put out a statement or be the face, the front-facing person of this issue, right? The JAM itself needs to understand that they are the body and the custodian for the entry examination into universities. If they cannot take that job very seriously by having mock examinations, you know, and even test trials with students, and also figure out the logistical issues long before the D-Day. They might as well leave the entry exams for all universities.
What you're saying is you want to prepare the students with these mock exams and test trials. But how about, let's put it this way, how about they prepare themselves for these exams? Because most of the situation was because of the glitches. This is what the candidates actually claim, that JAM itself was not prepared, not the students.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, so we're on the same page then.
Yeah, well,
fantastic.
yeah, so it's, that's what I'm saying, right? But in mock examinations is that when you try those things out, when you do the trial, then the students get used to the computer-based, the computers themselves. They anticipate what the issue is, what the glitches that will happen on the D-Day, and then they correct themselves ahead of the D-Day. Because you have to put into cognizance or into note that Nigeria, we have internet problems.
Nigeria happens.
It will happen, you know.
We had a case of WAEC over the week where students in Delta State were actually writing the exams with flashlights. I don't know why it took all the way into nighttime, but they were actually writing using
and your computer-based test examination, we already know that, you know, there's some persons who are not proficient with the computer themselves, you know, and they are far to reach regions where they have to go to those centers. So you have to put all of that into factor. Again, for leadership to happen, you must have foresight, proactiveness, and you must be clairvoyant. If you cannot do the job, please step down. Thank you, sir.
Are you going to be awarding the JAM registrar for his performance? I don't know. Did you like it? Was it a good one? Was it, you know, telenovela worthy?
Masino, come on now. Don't. It's okay. I've done enough today. Don't let DSS come to look for me, please.
Okay, now let's move on now to Daily Trust. We've got something very interesting on the pages of Daily Trust. I love Bola Ahmed's cartoons. First off, let's just take in this. Very beautiful, very colorful always, and he always seems to get the situation right.
Oh, man.
More Nigerians to sink into poverty by 2027, say the World Bank. All right, that is clear. Let that sink in for a moment. Now, this is not what we agreed on. Under this very interesting picture here, you see very fat-cheeked Nigerians. I will not mention exactly of what class or where exactly or whom they might be. And they are asking everybody else to keep holding it up, keep trying. Nigeria will get better, we'll all get there, while they're plucking these very ripe, luscious fruits from the tree, the national wealth. We spoke about this many times inside of the show today, how Nigerians are groaning under the pressure of the economy. Yet, we've heard that there are petrol subsidies that have been infused into the Nigerian system, and we're supposed to be reaping the dividends of this. We've heard that our inflation rate is going to go down. It'll go down. You guys just wait. So look at that. Don't worry. The inflation rate will go to, by December it will be 15%. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. And we're there growing.
Point again at him. Do it again. Don't worry. Don't worry.
But this is such a brilliant depiction of
I love those
that we've been talking about all day.
I absolutely love it. But what's very heart-wrenching is that even the future of Nigeria is suffering, all thanks to it being depicted in the photograph by that mother who is, you know, backing a child, all right? The child, too, is in this thing with us.
Yeah.
You know, by extension, the mother, the child has to be in it because he or she is strapped to the back of the mother. Whilst, you know, everybody is touching us.
It's very, very... if you look at the minutiae of this, there's excess, is my point, and there's still plucking. And then you get the crumbs, which just falls your way. And you can see. So, Bola Ahmed, man, I don't know. You're such an incredible artist.
It's self-explanatory.
We have to give you an award sometime on this show. Maybe invite you even over sometime.
It would be fun to have all of them.
There's another one by Bola Ahmed.
Again, you put a nail on their back because everyone knows what their face is. Yeah.
There's another one by Bola Ahmed for the Daily Trust, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take this one away and put that one on. This is a very interesting one. In fact, it involves one of our senators. No, not this one. Hang on. This isn't the one I was referring to. Not that one neither. There's a third one coming up. If I'm not mistaken, we should get that one in a minute. Oh, we don't have that one. But it was a very interesting take on the situation with Senator Nwamboe, where he was telling about the Nigerian airport, the Abuja airport, and the villages surrounding the Abuja airport. Now, this was the situation. I'll try and paint this picture for you. The picture showed an airplane landing. However, it also said, no, we don't like the look of this place, so we can't land here. What had happened was during the week on the floor, the senator had told that the Nigerian government should consider resettling the villagers who are around the airport as you enter into Nigeria, saying that this is the face of Nigeria as you're introduced to it. So let's take away these people because he doesn't like seeing these visuals as he's entering into Nigeria. And it just gives a very interesting perspective as to what the people at the top, or guys at the top, are thinking, while the people down under, not in those planes, are groaning through life. Yet they are faced with these instances of maybe perhaps being ejected from their motherland. And I really wish that we could have put that one up because it was what I was really excited about today. Your take on it? Remember, this is the same senator that went back to back with it.
My friend now, that's my friend.
Exactly.
That's my guy. What are you talking about? You know, look, I said this earlier on the show. As long
there
as...
we go. That's the one. That's the one. Oh, there it is. This face spoils the landscape of the National Assembly. It should be recalled. There's a video I hope that we can get as well. It's the live video from the floor of the National Assembly where he was telling this. But you were saying...
Look, I will say this. As long as there's public, you know, as long as the government or the public or the ruling party or professional politicians continue to make headlines in this sort of removed manner from reality, public scrutiny will always take front, right? And that's why I will always say that our ruling class or ruling elite or professional politicians have to continue, must put themselves back in the shoes of the masses. And they must come down to reality. I know it's hard. I know that breeze from the AC is touching you. I get it. But I think it must come back, you know, to reality and also just touch base with the grassroots. I want to say touch base with the grassroots, right? And feel the pulse of what the people is because
Well,
tomato,
tomato, yes. Well, I would like to see exactly how far his submission would go, if it would be taken relevant. Maybe not, but I don't think that it was. I thought it was rather insensitive, especially at this time, for anybody to be facing relocation, and not just relocation, but enforced relocation. Not a good look for the Nigerian government.
It's just no empathy, no sympathy, no proactiveness, no moving on. Anyways, my friends.
Listen, he's your friend, and let's go back to one of those that I ejected from before. Not that one. We had a couple others that we were supposed to talk about. Thank you very much. Let's talk about this now. The endorsement by the president, by the rest of the APC and 22 governors, and also senators and all the rest. 2027 Northwest APC endorses Tinubu for continuity. Northwest, the poorest region, not just that, the most insecure region, the most uneducated region. Now, you would want change, but we see support instead. And one would wonder exactly why. This picture here sees them blindfolded, and we're talking about the northern governors here, I think, maybe even the youth leaders and all of that. And you see them holding really fat laps of turkey or whatever protein that might be with 2027 ticket written on it. Them hoisting the flags till 2027, and then a representation of the masses there in the north, by the way, as you can see. Uneducated, hungry, despondent. And at the top, the representation for insecurity, bandits.
Babu Kurafi.
Fantastic picture here.
I know.
Put together by the Daily Trust. And once again, Bulama. It excites me when I see his cartoons. Your take, Judith.
At the end of that signpost, there is a Buba Kurafi. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Babu Kurafi.
Let's get Collins to
Collins is not as proficient as you think. Collins is fake.
Collins, get the interpretation for us so that we can tell exactly.
Collins is fake. But also, look at how the town is on fire because there's smoke just coming out from the roof there.
Yeah, that's everything going wrong in the
northwest. But of course, us three men, of course, represent the governors of the northwest. And then the bandits hanging on the signpost, like you rightfully put, they ate with that one. Nicely done. The leaders of the north, the beef I have with them is it's like I think it's bigger than what they have in their hand in that picture. You get what I mean? Because the beef it's huge, it's humongous, and I don't think that I have enough time to dissect into this. But I would say that this also shares. I don't think it's just the Northwest governors, but it's all the 22 governors who have endorsed.
North Central, you mean?
Who have endorsed the president, for 2027. Again, this is a distraction from what is really going on. Barely 2 years into this administration, onto all of the administration, whether voted under the APC umbrella or the PDP umbrella or whatever umbrella they came under, it is really, really unfair that that they are being distracted by this ticket instead of them or by this whole political allegiance, as opposed to, because your allegiance and your alliance should be to the people, but it's not, and it's likely to defeat this. So.
It's to self-preservation. That's exactly what it is.
It's
unfair. It would seem, and this is not my personal take, but it would seem that the support is also being tuned by the same thing.
But why are you preserving yourself? What about the other people that vote for you now? If they're all under those buildings that will now vote for you.
Like, by the way, Collins, congratulations. Thank you very much, Collins. You're no longer fake. He has come up with the translation. Babu Karafi actually means nothing to explain. Nothing to declare.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Listen. Hey, delicious. That's a good picture. Should we frame?
Delicious. Whose side are you on? I don't know. Whatever side you're on, it's okay.
Please.
It's okay. It's a democracy. It's okay. So I think we've got one very final one, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's a very interesting one, how the youth are very, very concerned with other things instead of the climate change, religious tension, insecurity going on, and also poverty and poor education in Nigeria. That's just a simple, light one there from Daily Trust. I want to say thank you for these very interesting strips here from the two papers we selected to use today, the Business Day and also Daily Trust. Fantastic cartoonist Bulama and also Para as well. And we'll continue to see if we can get more of these. But you can also assist if you send us in anyone that you think from through the week next week. Hang on, this week. We could also show it here next week for Breakfast Extra.
Yeah.
It's been a fantastic show, hasn't it, Judith?
Oh, yes, it has. It's been wonderful. I mean, Saturday and Sunday, giving you the biggest headlines, the in-depth analysis, and, of course, some sprinkling of humor just for you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Judith. It's been a wonderful one. Thank you for welcoming me back. I'll be here again next week. Don't you worry, or rather next weekend. Don't you worry, viewers. But thank you very much. This is where we wrap up Breakfast Extra for is it the final week in May?
No, it's not. You have one more week. Yeah, you got one more weekend. I know. But also, and also do remember that you can tune in Monday to Friday for Breakfast Central. We have all the hosts. So the breakfast team will be back for you, and that's Oliver Modi, Bing, and of course Joe. They'll all be here for you Monday to Friday, giving you the biggest stories that happen with your, wake-up conversations to the newspaper analysis, and of course the biggest stories that they cover on there as well. We'll be back on Saturday and Sunday. I wanted to do something, but I don't have a clarification to do that, so I'll wait for Saturday to do that.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.